Few criminals across history have been as feared as the Butcher of Rostov, also known as the Red Ripper. Welcome to our channel, and today we'll be talking about the infamous Red Ripper. Don't forget to subscribe and turn notifications on for more videos like today. Andrei Romanovich Chikatilo was a Soviet serial killer who mostly acted between 1978 and 1990 in the Russian Soviet Federative Socialist Republic, the Ukrainian Soviet Socialist Republic, and the Uzbek Soviet Socialist Republic too. Romanov was known as Russia's deadliest and most brutal serial killer ever, who had sexually assaulted, mutilated, and murdered roughly 52 women and children, even confessing to 56 murders and being tried for 53 of these in April 1992. Chikatilo was convicted and sentenced to death for 52 of these murders, even though it was determined by the Supreme Court of Russia that insufficient evidence existed to prove Chikatilo's guilt in 9 of these murders. Ever since 1982, Russian authorities were notified of the existence of a serial killer. The number of bodies that showed up, killed and mutilated in the same way, was what notified the police that this was the work of one person. Few serial killers mutilate bodies in different ways, so it was most likely that this person would kill again, and also kill in the same way. They created a psychological profile of the killer, a man in his 30s, a grifter. Except for the fact that Chikatilo was a father of 2, a former military man, and in his 50s. The police couldn't be further from the truth in this case. Chikatilo was born in 1936 in the middle of a mass famine in Ukraine. From the beginning of his life, he had struggled to make ends meet due to the agricultural recession, even being born in a one-room hut to farmers. His childhood was incredibly unhappy, lonely, and he even lived under the impression that his older brother had been kidnapped and cannibalized by the neighbors. He was horribly bullied in high school, was small in stature, weak, and his father was even taken prisoner during World War II. His peers targeted him by accusing him of being the son of a coward who had been captured, so as a consequence, they bullied him terribly. At least Chikatilo was incredibly intelligent and even graduated at the top of his class. His traumatic childhood was what caused him to be such an awkward and self-loathing man. Supposedly, he had initiated many relationships during his teenage years, but they all ended when he was unable to perform sexually, causing his peers to once again mock him because of his lack of ability to perform in bed. He even attempted suicide because he feared girls were talking about him behind his back. Eventually, Chikatilo was drafted into the Soviet Army, and he served his conscripted time perfectly, joining the Communist Party with an unblemished work record. His life seemed to be turning around after he married a few years later to a woman whom his younger sister had introduced him to. Despite his impotence, the woman bore 2 children, a daughter and a son. He took courses in Russian literature and completed a 5-year course in the subject at Rostov University. He was even teaching the subject himself at a local boarding school afterwards. Despite the new directions of his life, his childhood traumas still followed him. However, when Chikatilo couldn't keep his students in line, he retaliated by sexually assaulting 2 of them. For some strange reason, he wasn't punished for either assault and was still even allowed to work at the school. In fact, one of his jobs was patrolling the girls' dormitories. Yep, definitely a big values dissonance when compared to the world today. Eventually, the school fired him after complaints of abuse began surfacing. But apart from the firing, he was not punished any further. After taking so much across his life, the firing triggered Chikatilo, and he decided to take revenge on the world that had taken so much from him. It's believed that his first murder was that of 9-year-old Yelena Zakatnova in September of 1978. Spots of the girl's blood were found near his home, and her backpack had been found on the riverbank at the end of his street. A witness even described a man who sounded like Chikatilo being at a bus stop with the girl before she died. However, another man who had been convicted of a similar crime took the fall. Chikatilo began murdering more and more people, even showing signs of the same kind of torture the first girl had experienced. His signature attack was gouging the victim's eyes out because he was afraid his image would be imprinted on the eyes after death, and that he had removed them to prevent his identity from being known. Eventually, in 1990, Chikatilo was arrested and not released. Of the 56 murders that he confessed to, 53 of them were verified. While in court, he was held in an iron cage to separate him from the jury, inside which he repeatedly burst into song, rambled in gibberish, and dropped his trousers. He was declared guilty and sentenced to death, being executed on Valentine's Day of 1994. Let us know what you think of this case in the comments. And also, make sure to leave us a like, share this video with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more videos like today.